it doesn't matter what intervals you want to do your chasing at. Generally speaking, what we do is we do a reminder per invoice, and continue to chase for that invoice while it remains outstanding at the frequency that you want to chase it for. You can choose whether you want to just chase for the invoice, or if you want to chase for the invoice as well as attaching a copy statement to it. And that statement will obviously show all of the invoices that are outstanding for that client as well. Automated task creation on this as well. So where debt becomes too overdue for automated reminders and somebody needs to really start getting in touch with the customers manually, we can automatically generate a task and allocate it to the credit controller responsible for the client. And that means that credit controller has a to-do list, which is full, and hopefully not too full, but full of all of the things, all of the clients they've got to chase for what as well. And again, I'll go through that with some real examples so you can see what that looks like as well. Inside those tasks, it does give you it adds into the notes the invoice or invoices that are meeting the criteria, as well as each invoice's outstanding balance. And there is also a link from that task to directly enter the client's sales ledger so that you can see a full picture of the client's debt situation before you initiate contact. And of course, then you can get to the client record and find the contact details as well. All reminders log entries in the client's credit control notes. So in the debtor inquiry screen, again, under the credit control notes area, we do log every automated chaser. And the reason for that is because we can't actually log the email in document management due to the way document management works, and the way KPI monitoring works. They are separate. So as well as CCing in a mailbox that you could have created, we do log the fact that a chaser is sent there as well. Postal reminders. So for those clients whereby you need to send them something by post rather than email, we do a consolidated report of all of the required pages, whether that be the invoice and the statement, or just the invoice. And as well as a covering letter for each one as well. So you get a single PDF sent to your credit controller where you can print them off and then thumb through them, stuff them, and off they go. But extra fields are ultimately how we control the behavior of it for each client. So you can, on a client by client basis, you can opt in or out of the automated process. And you can flag how the client receives their statements as well, using the delivery method extra field. Associations is ultimately how we decide who the chasers are going to go to. So we generally create a billing contact on the client, and the benefit of doing that is through KPI monitoring rather than anything else is that you can have more than one. So you can list as many people as you like as the billing contact for that client, and they will all receive the same emails. Master paragraphs. So you may be familiar with those for the paragraph lines on your invoice. We use those same paragraphs to use for the covering letter, if you wanted a covering letter for any of your printed statement types. So if you might have credit control 1, credit control 2, credit control 3 with different wording on them, and they will go through into this the covering letter in the report if you wish. Dispute types, we use that to either, well, generally to put a stop on escalating the chasers. For the monthly invoices, which is just a statement of account, they'd still be received. But if you need to stop a particular invoice from being chased for, we would use a dispute type, generally something like credit control hold as its type. And then in the narrative, that can be surfaced on the statement itself, so that even though you've stopped chasing or escalating for a particular invoice on the monthly statements, it's clear to your client that invoice is still outstanding and it's still expected to be paid within the terms that you've agreed. So yeah, this is KPI monitoring then. It's not something, unless you have database administration experience, it's not really something that you're going to ease yourself into to be able to use day to day. And it's generally something you would, if quite a lot of the time, you would commission us to build something in it for you. And it's a fire and forget kind of tool. It runs in the background. You don't need to interact with it day to day. And we use queries to interrogate the central database, draw information out, and then pass the information that is being drawn out into these events. And as you can see in this credit control package here in the events, we've got a few examples of templated events that we use to when we deploy these solutions. So an example here, we've got an external alert. So that means it's going outside the organization. And this one is 7 days before the bill is due. We're going to send a reminder, direct email. So if I click edit on this, I can add a schedule to it. So this would run daily. The trigger is the query that it's running to get the information out of the database. And then the deliverables are three things that happen to make this solution work. So first thing we need to do is we need to generate a report, and the report itself is built in Crystal Reports. Effectively what that is a report which simulates the look and feel of your invoice and your statement. So your invoices may well reside within practice management in Central, and your statement might well reside, if you've generated it as a report in Central as well, maybe stored it in the document center. We have to use the same logic to get that information out of the database and turn that into a report in the same way. It is the same. We designed it to look the same, but it is handled slightly differently. Not really something you need to worry about. A sample output of that report I have just here. So this is a Crystal Reports designer, and this is obviously a Wolters Kluwer branded version of it. It would be tweaked to suit your own organizations. And this is an example of a covering letter to a particular client who has a number of outstanding invoices in my test system. The next page will be the statement. So again, this is just a statement example I knocked together, and you can have any kind of design within reason. Most of the time, we just replicate what you're using in your smart reports at the moment. Okay, so next page, then we have the copy invoices. And so on. Again, entirely flexible. If you don't want to specify the VAT rate on the line, we can take that out. It's entirely up to you. Okay, just jumping back into KPI monitoring then. That's the report. We then have the email itself. So here I usually put in the client code in the subject line. We put in your company name in there, and then in this case, this would be a payment reminder since it's 7 days before the due date. And then we have some wording in here which we can draw information from the query out as well. So contact you regarding the attached invoice. This is the value which was due for payment, or which is due for payment on this date. And we can put some signature information in the bottom there if we need to as well. Again, not set in stone how this should look, because we can discover this as part of the initial call with each of you. If you want to have different wording, if you want this to behave differently, and so on, no problem with that. And then finally, we've got a submit SQL option here. And I'm not going to go into the detail with this, but ultimately this is the part of it that logs the chases into the database. So how's that look in Central? Well, this is the client which I've been doing all the testing against, ABC Limited. So firstly, under extra, I've got a group called credit control, and I've got automated debtor statement as an option within here. I'm going to flag this over to yes. Automated debtor statement is the main one, and statement delivery method is the other. Okay, so long as they're set, we've then got the associations. Now I've got 2 billing contacts in here as well. So that's there. Now, if there is no billing contacts, we actually do refer back to the main record. So if we go back to addresses, and again, this can be tweaked slightly in your own environments if needed as well. We'll revert back to the main email address on the record. If you do have other email addresses in here, such as billing email on its own, and then email, is quite easy for us to be able to put an order of precedence in there to say, go for the associations first. And if they're not there, go for the billing contact, go for the billing email. And if that's not there, go for the email address on the client. Okay, so that's where we work out who we're sending it to. And then if I just drop to the debtor inquiry, then a debtor inquiry up here, and then notes. So here's an example of what one of the automated logs might look like. So in this case, I was running a test on, again, very old data in my system, but an automated chaser sent for 284 days overdue invoices. That's the date we did the chaser on. And then if multiple invoices match the criteria, we list the outstanding invoices and their individual balances in the notes in there as well. Yeah. So that's logging the individual actions which KPI monitoring is doing in the background. We then have credit control tasks. So here's an example of a credit control task. And normally what you have to do is manually create these up here, add a task. But we have the ability from KPI monitoring to create this task automatically. So there's an example on this one. Don't worry about the subject. You can tweak that. But the same logic, we specify in the notes of the task as well which invoices match the criteria and what their numbers are. And we also have this available actions where we can click on view sales ledger to go into the ledger itself or from the task. So operating on the basis that you'll have a tasks and appointments list on your homepage, which will probably have all your credit control tasks within there. You've got then, see, I've got a couple down here as well of other ones with the debtors 120, 29 days overdue. Again, the subject is definable. So if we open up one of these, I can then see, right, well, this invoice is what I need to look at. This is the client, and I can go straight into the sales ledger of that client and see what's going on in here. And of course, then I can go straight over to notes, check that all of the chasing's been happening, look for any other tasks that might be on the client here, and then obviously jump into the client record to get their contact details from here. And obviously then you can do as you wish. You can go back to your task. If you are a person who needs to log their time, you can log your time to the client through tasks as well. So you can tick the box and click on the create timesheet entry and then log the fact that you've done some chasing against whichever assignment on the client you wish. And that'll go straight on your timesheet there as well. And then of course you can just complete the task from there, which will knock it off. And depending on what you've decided to implement, you may have tasks coming in at different points of the process. So it may be that you have a task to follow up after maybe 2 chases, a friendly phone call perhaps, and then you might wait for a few more automated things to go before you get to the point where you start having serious phone calls with them and have more tasks being created at that point. If you want other things which are not packaged, so we haven't provided a solution package for it, then again, that's the kind of thing we would scope out with you and then implement over the course of some consultancy days. Examples might be automated timesheet alerts, so nagging your staff when they haven't done the timesheets, escalating that to managers if they still haven't done it after a couple of days, those kinds of things. Alerting job managers when work is overdue or where deadlines are coming up. Yeah, budget alerts. Notifying your clients when a workflow step is still overdue and action is required on their part. For instance, sending in accounts information or sending in a signed return or something like that they haven't done yet, or based on the progress of workflows.